I don't remember how I came to obtain Sega's binary domain. Did I purchase it either as a part of a deal or a loan? Was it gifted to me? Part of a Humble Bundle? I really don't remember, but I do know that one of my friends recommended that I play it as he enjoyed it quite a bit. Thanks, Kyle, because it was really enjoyable. Binary Domain is a third-person shooter where you play as Dan Marshall, a soldier that's part of a Rust crew. These Rust crews are tasked by a special organization to hunt down illegal robotics and arrest their creators. I should mention that this game takes place in 2080, where everything is controlled by technology, allowing most humans to live a life of luxury. At least you'd be led to believe that, because in most of the residential spots you move through, things don't look so hot. Apparently from the beginning, Tokyo was wiped out by a massive flood, and enormous floodgates protect what is left of the city. But I'm going off track. You're hunting down one Yoji Amada, a man who was said to create something called a hollow child. This is a special robot that doesn't even know that it's a cyborg, but instead has a very detailed memory of being human. One approaches a scientist named Bergen, rips off part of its face and threatens everyone, asking what happened to him. This evidence was what prompts Dan and his partner Roy Boateng to go after Amada. Eventually, you meet up with more party members, but that's the general gist of the intro. Believe me, I wouldn't want to spoil the story because it really is fantastic and engrossing, with many plot twists that, after they happen, you'd say, wow, I really should have seen that coming. I'll admit that most shooters that I play, regardless of whether they are first person or third person, don't have this much of a story to them. Sure, they have plots that they follow, but it's rare that they're this involved. So you start the game and get thrust in a normal tutorial level. Before you even shoot, you get told about what may be the most unique feature of the game, the communication system. Sure, Lifeline on PS2 tried it first, but we all know how much of a bomb that game was. To be truthful, I've never played it, but one of my friends overseas played the demo, and he told us all to stay away from it. Well then, that was enough for me. Anyway, back on subject. There are times in the game where you'll be asked a question, and you have to speak into the mic for your response. I didn't actually use my mic for this, as I wasn't hooked up when I first started playing it. It took me a few minutes, but I eventually figured out how to go into the options and disable the mic, opting instead just to press and hold tab in order to bring up the voice prompts. With this, you can choose simple responses when your team is engaging you in conversation. Most of the time, this is as complex as just yes or no. You can also give props or curse out your teammates by pressing tab. However, I noticed that when trying to tell my teammates good shot, they'll have to respond back with, huh? What do you mean? That was random. Even though it was only a minute after the battle. This option isn't available during the battles, so I'm assuming actual speech worked better for these situations. You'll also be occasionally stopped in the middle of a level and forced into a conversation. This can be a bit strange because you'll still get the normal 3 one-word responses, but they may not make any sense in context. So you may choose something at random because the one-word response isn't really enough to elaborate on what you're really trying to say. This also cuts off the flow of the game, so it just feels out of place a bit, most of the times. I've also been told, by Kyle no less, that the mic input isn't very accurate. As I said, I haven't tried it myself, but I'll just take his words for it. Another thing that makes Binary Domain stand out from its peers is the enemy type. You don't fight normal soldiers. Instead, all of your opponents are robots. You may think, well, that's lame, where's all the blood? Yet, honestly, it's really surprising to see and fight enemies that aren't human for once. When shooting the cyborgs, parts go flying, and enemies take damage depending on what limb you strike. Much like Dead Space, sever 2 limbs and the bot falls for good. Decapitate them and they'll go hostile on their own kind. They usually don't last very long, but that extra bit of damage can come in handy, as well as the beheaded bot becoming a nice decoy. There's also a nice variety of robots to destroy. Your standard ones are just green security bots. But you'll also encounter hulking black ones that carry miniguns, black ones that rush you like football linebackers, red ones that are a bit faster than the green ones, flying green transport bots, and then the driving sections, techs that are on wheels that fire at you while driving side by side with you. That doesn't include the frequent boss fights that you'll be encountering. The first is a large white golem-like robot called a Grand Lancer, for obvious reasons. You'll see him multiple times in the beginning of the game, and will eventually be destroyed when you meet up with the rest of your squad. There's many more where that came from, and I won't spoil all of them for you, because that's half of the fun of the game. You just never know what beast you're going to run into next. You just need to be prepared to dump a large quantity of ammo at it. Speaking of ammo, may as well talk about the weaponry of the game. There's a pretty good selection of firearms to carry, although you'll be forced to always carry your main assault rifle. This is because it can be upgraded. It also carries a plasma-like blast as a second feature. It's a great crowd control option, and then sometimes required to destroy objects so you can proceed in the game. To activate it, you just hold down R. If you need to reload, Dan will do that first, but when the animation is done, that weapon will continue its charge. So yeah, it does recharge and reload at the same time. Well, that's kinda nice. Other weapons comprise of an SMG, shotgun, sniper rifle, machine gun, and a burst fire assault rifle. There's also two types of pistols. One looks like an M92 Beretta, and the other a Desert Eagle style model. These can be switched, but you'll always have one of the two on hand, because if you fall, you can shoot this until you're healed up. Weapons can be changed just by picking them up off the battlefield, or you can buy them at many shopping centers that litter the world. May as well talk about those quick. You encounter these vending machines and can purchase upgrades and other items with the cash you've earned by destroying enemies. You can upgrade any of the character's main weaponry, but can't do any stat boosting to your backup weapons. You can also purchase medkits, ammo, secondary weapons, and also stat boosting nanomachines. After you purchase at least one of them, when you leave the machine, a small wheel will spin. If you get a blue or green light, you win a small prize, be it a medkit, ammo, grenades, or even a nanomachine. So with this, you definitely want to stick around for those extra few seconds to see if you get any free stuff. The nanomachines are extra skills that you can equip on all of your party members. Most of them just involve increasing health, health regen, or defense. I really didn't notice much of a change when equipping them, of which you have a grid-like system to attach the nanomachines to. I'm assuming this is so that you have to pick and choose which nanomachines to equip, but I never found any situation where you had to decide between them, as all of them that I've obtained all fit inside that small grid. Maybe it's because I skipped a lot of the nanomachines in the middle of the game, but I'm just throwing my observation out there. Maybe I should actually talk about your party. There's a total of about 6 other squad mates that will join you in your mission. They will come and go, and there are points in the game where you will be given a choice on which teammates to bring with you. Each teammate has their own skills. Charlie has an SMG, so he's able to put a lot of rounds downrange and quickly. Rachel has an RPG. Faye is a sniper and is extremely quick. Kane can take a lot of damage since he's a robot, but only has a pistol in his repertoire. You also get a member of the Japanese resistance, Shindo, that carries an assault rifle. Bringing different members will alter some of the conversations you have throughout the game, but the game will progress in the same path regardless on who you keep in your company. There's also a trust system in play. As you make amazing shots, save teammates, and respond well to your party's questions, their respect of you will increase. Unless you give a lot of orders, this trust system will never really make much of a difference in the game. Supposedly, all that happens is that teammates with low trust in you may ignore your orders. Being that I almost never gave out orders like cover me or hold position, I never noticed when the trust system worked or not, but it does exist. In addition, if you answer badly or accidentally shoot your teammates, their trust in you will drop, and you'll be committing a lot of friendly fire atrocities because the enemy AI isn't always too smart. The enemy robots are pretty intelligent, but your friendly AI will often get up from cover and walk in front of you while you're dumping the entire mag into security bots. It's frustrating because you know they've got to see you shooting. But at least they're resilient. The graphics of the game are simply gorgeous. I was really shocked that I was able to play this game on my PC at relatively high settings and be able to record the game and it still be extremely smooth. The facial animations are really realistic, and even the robots move in a realistic manner for an android. The world looks believable. It helps to give the notion that robots really do everything in this futuristic vision. There's plenty of cutscenes in the game, showing off the beautiful visuals, and thankfully there's often humor involved to make things a bit more lighthearted. It's strange. Humor in a shooter that actually made me chuckle. I don't know, this game is doing things differently, but it works. Maybe I'm just not used to these things working in the genre. One thing that is questionable is some of the controls. The cover system especially seems a little clunky at times. You may press space to duck behind a counter, but instead Dan will just roll out of the way. This happens many times, so it's not just an isolated problem. Another issue is that when driving the jet skis early in the game, I just felt that the controls were just way too awkward. The vehicle didn't seem to move naturally, and it felt like I was fighting the controls more than the enemies themselves. It's just hard to explain without you physically experiencing how they move, so I won't dwell on this any further. The only other thing worth mentioning about the controls is the one QuickTime event where you're shown 2 spacebar keys and an arrow. Would you understand this as being that you have to hold down the spacebar and also the movement key that it's showing? I didn't at first, so I died. Once you figure it out, it's like, okay, I kinda get it, but the keystrokes shown are just a bit baffling. While playing the game, you may encounter data files that are strewn about. You can pick them up, but in an unusual but welcome manner, the game will not pause to tell you the contents of the file. Instead, you have to manually bring up the menu, go into the data files option, and then choose the file you want to read. I love this. Instead of breaking the momentum of the game, you can keep playing until you really want to read any of the files that you picked up. Or you can easily wait till you're done playing to read them all at the same time. Again, I really love this feature and wish more games would allow you to do this. Binary Domain is a must-play for anyone who enjoys third-person shooters. It's got it all. Brutal destruction of androids, awesome graphics, decent weaponry, funny one-liners, and even an engaging and lengthy story. It's all unusual to see all of this meshed together flawlessly in a game nowadays, but Binary Domain succeeds. Definitely check this one out, as it's really that fun. Final score? 9 out of 10. I'd give it a 10, but the sketchy cover control and questionable voice system wasn't implemented as smoothly as possible, so I felt like I had to dock it a point for that. But don't get me wrong, this game is really fun. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.